So your name for the records.
Heather Cole.
And where are you right now, ma'am? You're in Barbados
In New
or
York.
overseas?
No, New York City.
So you live in New York?
Correct.
Okay, ma'am. What's your occupation for the records?
I'm a budget analyst.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, so you have 10 minutes.
All right. And I will read my submission, and it is in relation to the cybercrime bill. My primary cause for concern, or one of them rather, I have three. Last Monday, the 6th of May, I listened to Mr. Stephen Williams in his presentation to this committee. And when he was being questioned after his presentation, he spoke stating that he hoped.
Okay, Miss Cole, just hold a bit because it's coming through very loud. So okay, Miss Cole. It was coming through very loud, so speak again.
All right. All right, let me try again.
Okay, so we're good now. We're good now. That's good volume.
Great. As I listened to Mr. Williams last Monday, when he was being questioned, he spoke that he hoped that the Great Firewall of China was not the way that the police intended to go. And Mr. Williams was the government's consultant on this project, and he went to China to get firsthand information. So at that point, I made a note that he's referenced the Great Firewall of China. And later I went back to the bill and I saw no mention of surveillance and detention within the bill. And in China, the surveillance and detention go hand in hand. One does not happen without the other. And then I look at section 23, from section 23.3, as well as sections 24 and 25. And I'm referring to the cybercrime bill. And neither of these sections state what happens to any person after the search or prior to an appearance in court. All right, and let me go on. And it appears that the consultant is unaware of the outcome of his project, even though he was the technocrat. And even though he was a technocrat, he would have had the best recommendations to give to government. And at this point in time, I know that the word hope is a bad word in Barbados. So therefore, I had no hope in Mr. Williams's hope, because right now in Barbados, hope is reference to mean things like wastage, misuse of funds and corruption, etc. So again, having heard the consultant use the Great Firewall of China, I explored it for what it is, a heavily surveillance police society in which no one or nothing can happen except the police knowing. All of the internet traffic, both in and out, must pass through the police. And in China, China is also a society where they use an ID that is similar to the Trident ID, and it is a method of surveillance control. And surveillance and detention centers go hand in hand in China. I mentioned that just now. And so based on the revelation of the consultant, I now wonder if the government of Barbados is planning to build or has already built a mass detention center in Barbados. If this is true, this bill will become a warrant for torture and death in detention for the sons and daughters of Barbados. Mr. Williams' revelation, in my opinion, was like a missing piece of the puzzle. So I now wonder if Barbados is about to become a police state. And I am assured I am, as well as all Barbadians, would want to join me to insist that the government of Barbados address this before it proceeds, because I don't think that we should be welcoming Chinese slavery in Barbados. That is my first concern. And the next one is the Constitution. We have awaited the Constitution, the new Constitution, for quite some time. And I wonder now if the new cybercrime bill, was being put in place to be followed by the Constitution, or if the Constitution was waiting for the Freedom ID as well as the cybercrime bill to be in place, then for the government to present it. And I wonder how, if that is the case, how this will affect the freedoms of expression that are currently available in Barbados. So technically in this area, there are too many unknowns. And I also wonder, for example, if it could be unconstitutional to protest in marches. And the next piece of my presentation is references me personally. I was a victim of cybercrime, and that was committed against me in 2018. I came to Barbados and I gave a statement to the police. And on the morning of the second day, I went back to the police station again. And upon leaving the room where I was being interrogated, I heard the station sergeant I overheard him tell someone on the telephone, "The woman here." And as I passed his desk and he realized that I was passing, he lowered his voice. And he quickly ended his conversation. So I had no idea who he was speaking with. And the police took my phone, and it was not ready by the time I was ready to leave the island the next week. So I went back for it. And subsequently, I sent it back to Barbados in the following month. And it was to be collected from the Worthings police station, but that never happened. I came back to the island the next year. I went to the Worthings police station where another officer met me up there and finally collected the phone. I kept in contact with the police for updates regarding the case, but nothing was forthcoming. My brother was calling continuously, and if the sergeant answered the phone or whoever transferred the phone to the sergeant, they would either say an arrest will be imminent or tell him something to get him off the phone. But most of the times the phone rang off the hook. Years went by. I wrote to the Prime Minister, got no response. I wrote to the Consul General in New York, got no response. And I wrote to the Director of Public Prosecution as well as the Commissioner of Police, got no response. And when the Consul General of Miami was coming to Barbados at a point in time, after I had contacted him about this matter, he said he would raise it with the AG when he got to Barbados, and that he was going to Barbados in 3 weeks' time. And when he came back, I contacted him, and he said the AG said he would investigate the matter. Nothing happened. And subsequently, I don't know if it was the following year or the year after that, someone informed me that my case had been called up in court on 2 occasions, and I was not there. I was never contacted by anyone in regards to the police or the court that my matter was being heard. Otherwise, I had taken a flight to go there to report it. I would have made sure that I would have been in Barbados. And I was in shock to find out really that I was not contacted. Again, I sent a letter and a letter by regular mail and another email to the Director of Public Prosecutions to make her aware of what I had heard. And to this day, she has not responded either. And coming up to the last election, this was an embarrassing and frustrating process. And coming up to the last election, I decided to write a press release to inform everybody of what was happening, because subsequent to this, matters involving people who had similar cyber crimes were investigated and there was an outcome and nothing was happening to mine. And I sent that press release to a friend of mine seeking guidance. And somehow or the other, not somehow or the other, I know the path it took. It made its way to the Attorney General. And I presume that he was feeling that he may have become embarrassed by what was being exposed. And the next morning, probably before 10 o'clock, my sister was able to call me and tell me that the police from the Holton police station called her, wanting to know how soon I could come into Barbados to attend court. So I said all of that, and we went to court, and up to this day, what happened was just to appease me, because the case was adjourned, and up to now, nothing has happened. And that was just the same year that was the last election.
Miss Cole, hold on, Miss Cole.
However,
I just want to say you have 2 more minutes.
Okay, all right.
What you're saying, ma'am, is of interest. Obviously, you're speaking about the police. Realize that this is a legislative body.
I do understand.
And we're speaking about the bill.
Yes.
So
yes.
we really don't have oversight over the police. But we're giving you
relevant.
a little whiff, ma'am. We're giving you a little whiff, but also, you know, I want you still to focus and realize that your time is running out, because members can also engage you after you speak.
Okay. The reason why I stated all of that is to say that the law, the cybercrime law that existed then, and the one that is being proposed now that was just passed, offered me no protection, either of them. There is no protection from bad actors in the civil service or the parliament or wherever. So the old law offered no protections. I read the current one. It also has not addressed the issue. It offers nobody in a similar position any protection at all. There's no guarantee that they will have a day in court. And in conclusion, that I oppose the bill in its present form because it may have significant changes that would affect our constitution and freedoms of expression, and the idea of mass surveillance, I think, should not be tolerated in Barbados at all, mass surveillance or detention centers. And that's my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Any members wish to engage Ms. Cole on anything she said or otherwise? Ms. Cole, you on at least 2 occasions said that this bill, cybercrime bill, will curtail freedom, the constitutional right to freedom of expression. And yes, there's a constitutional right to freedom of expression, but isn't that right curtailed and, you know, surrounded, ring-fenced by certain obligations and limitations that, yes, there's a constitutional right to freedom of expression, but that right is subject to public interest and morality and laws of privacy. Isn't that the case? So if that is the case, why are you saying that, you know, it threatens your constitutional right to freedom of expression?
So in my opinion, nothing was wrong with the previous bill. I do not think, to me, what it does is that the reach of this new bill is wider, and it can encapsulate many other things that relate to people's freedom. I think that if the previous bill had some areas in which it was not up to standard, that it should have been updated, but this one is way too wide and vague. Even if we have to try to discuss or try to figure out what freedoms of expression are at this stage, we have a problem.
Okay, but have you seen section 19.5 of the bill?
I had it up here. Is there something specifically you wish to tell me?
No, the cybercrime bill,
I did read
19.5,
it.
which says that there are defenses to an allegation of breach of the cybercrime bill. Defenses
You
that
said,
are similar, the same as in defamation, are carried forward in this bill. In other words, if what you are saying is true, or if what you are saying is trivial, that you have a defense to a
so,
charge on allegation under this bill. If
so
what you're
why
saying
does
is
this
comment,
bill,
so
why does,
how,
go ahead.
why, therefore, you believe that, your constitutional rights to freedom of expression are being breached? When you have those defenses, you gotta be sure, for example, that what you're saying is true, not because somebody is a politician, that you can say any and everything about them, that they're corrupt. XY is a crook. He took bribes and even bringing in the mother, as a lot of people do. What do you expect about XY? His mother was a prostitute anyway, so you can't expect nothing better from him. But then you can't prove
Well,
either of those. Do you think that because you have a constitutional right to freedom of expression, you should be able to say that about an individual or their mother when you can't prove that it was true? Just
well,
using an example,
personally, go ahead.
just using an, just using an example, you believe that because you have a constitutional right, freedom of expression, you should still be allowed to say that without, any penalty?
I don't believe in abusing my constitutional rights, and I don't think that anyone should take it lightly as well. However, there are, however, I don't publish or write anything that I don't think is true, nor that anything that connecting the dots would not seem true. I would never do that. For example, if I can bring you right back to this very bill, if you were a person, a lay person who's not familiar with the law, and you read this bill as I did, and you read 23, 24, and 25, there is something missing between 23, 24, and 25, and it doesn't make any sense. So that is why my query is the surveillance and detention centers, because I read it, and to me, it ain't look right. Something wrong there. So that is why I am querying that. But however, to reinforce it, I am not a person who goes willy-nilly trying to put things on the internet that don't make any sense and that are untrue. And I hardly, well, perhaps some people do it. And if they do, yes, I agree that they should be, um, that there is a law there should be a law for defamation. That's what I believe. And also, again, when I read this bill, the premise that came over is that you are guilty until you have to prove your innocence. Normally, it is the other way around.
No, no, ma'am, no, ma'am.
That's the impression I got.
The time old standard of law and rule of law in Barbados is that you are innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. There are few exceptions to that. I mean, I think possession of drugs, I'm an attorney at law, ma'am, senior counsel, and there are three other lawyers in this room. at the level of King's Counsel as well, leader of the opposition, and another accomplished lawyer, ma'am, and a top legal drafter, ma'am. So this bill does not shift the burden of proof, and it is still, you know, that any allegation before the court for any of these provisions has to be proven beyond reasonable doubt, ma'am. So don't be worried about that.
So,
And throughout the bill, it speaks towards intentionally and recklessly or recklessly. In other words, you have to have the mens rea, we call it in law, to commit the offense.
so what is reckless then? If I call somebody a fool and they're not a fool, how reckless, how would you quantify reckless? How would you quantify that
Ma'am,
in terms of a scale of recklessness?
we have judges, ma'am. You could appreciate the judiciary will, you know, weigh the evidence, etc. But if you call someone a fool, and I'm just engaging you a bit, ma'am. I mean, this is not a legal class, a law class. But if you call someone a fool, a court might very well say that that is trivial. I mean, it's within the context, ma'am, of why you call them a fool. That is the truth. But a court might say that is trivial, right? And that's the defense as well under Section 19.5. So, as I said, ma'am, it's not a law class we conducting here. We wanted to engage you and have your thoughts. But I just felt that I needed to ask you that question on the freedom of expression. Okay? Are there any other members or any other members who would wish to engage Ms. Cole? No? Okay, so Ms. Cole, we thank you for your citizenry.
I thank you as well.
Even you're a part of our diaspora in New York. I assume you're born in Barbados. You speak like us, so you know we thank you for taking the opportunity to give your evidence. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye bye.